AFTV. You know what? It's great because I can see the guys over there. They're still having a massive debate over the game today. We haven't lost it. We've drawn. But, I mean, where are you two on it? Like, you two have been stood up here for, like, ages now, listening to everybody talk. Are people getting carried away when they're moaning? Or was it today that Mikel Arteta made a massive error at the start of the game with his lineup?
Look, for me, I think everyone's talking about being brave. And I think we saw Arsene Wenger for years being brave all the time and getting thumped in these sorts of games. And the level of caution that we're seeing from Arteta is what we've seen and what has actually been, for me, a big part of his record against these sides. There is obviously an issue in terms of the dynamic of that three in midfield, particularly maybe not Zuberman. I'm probably being a bit harsh on him, but maybe certainly when you're playing Rice and Mourinho together, it probably doesn't work. I thought I saw a lot today. Mourinho was kind of like, when you're playing against those sides that congest the middle of the park, you do need someone to be brave and try to get behind the midfield line, receive the ball on a half turn and look to play. Mourinho,
like an essay, for instance.
Well, yeah, because what I saw of Mourinho is he kept pulling out to the right hand side, almost like crowding Madueke space, and not necessarily being brave enough to get on the ball and try and make something happen. And obviously Eze comes in and does that. I mean, I thought Eze was kind of poor in midweek. I didn't think he had the best game in midweek. So you can kind of understand with everything that's kind of gone on why maybe he didn't start today. And again, you want to maybe be a bit cautious. But the difference for me also is that last season the team picked itself. We weren't having these debates before the game because you knew what the 11 was going to be. You knew Trossard or Martinelli, whoever was on the bench, was going to be the first man off the bench. You could almost predict it for big parts of the season. And I think last season we lose that game. We don't get back into it. I think Arteta was brave at half time. He made the substitution that he needed to make. I thought he was brave. He took Timber off and brought Martinelli on. Couldn't quite figure out. I need to probably go back and watch it to figure out what we were even doing at times. But he basically said, "Look, we've got to get something out of this game," and he went and made it happen. Brought the players on, and that's what we've done. We've built the squad that can get us out of these holes when we get into them.
Yeah, why didn't you do that in the first place? Then? Why didn't you be? You're hearing what the guys are saying. Bravery. Is he brave enough to get us over the line this season? Because there are going to be times, all right, fair enough, you're right. Second half, he switched it up. He's gone for it. He's really gone for it, and he's got something out of the game. But is he brave enough to do that from the start in games?
I think he's got to change the way he plays these big games. I think there's obviously a bit of a pattern emerging with Liverpool away. Obviously, he's set up to try and sort of stifle, and that would have been a very natural sort of 0-0 that was obviously settled by a moment of magic by Dominic Szoboszlai. Today reminded me very much of the game we played here a couple of seasons ago where we won 1-0. Martinelli got that deflected goal, went in the back of the net, and everyone was saying, you know, the master's been overcome by the apprentice, and the rhetoric was completely different. I think Arteta needs to trust in the firepower that we've got in the squad. I don't see, managers of old making those changes so early. So he's obviously been dynamic enough to say, do you know what, I got it wrong. Instead of sticking, he's twisted and got a result by obviously the equaliser in the last couple of minutes. But I did think, I will say this, I think we were very, very poor today for 92 minutes of the 95. And then the last 3 minutes of the game, we looked like actually, if it went on for another 10 or 15, we might actually have gone and won it. So I think, there's definitely something to say that Arteta needs to look at what he's got in the squad and look to be a bit more dynamic with the options. I don't get Mourinho in midfield. I completely agree with the points made about Mikel Mourinho. Yes, in terms of his striking position when he came in, as a striker, he was fantastic. But in midfield, I don't really get it. I don't really get what I'm seeing from him there. So I think I'd much rather see the likes of Wanyeri, and Eze in the 10, playing in those positions.
You start that next week against Newcastle?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a real test next week. Obviously, we've had some games against Newcastle where we've become unstuck. I mean, last season they beat us, 3 times out of 4 games. So I think we really need to start a different pattern next week against Newcastle. Tough place to go. No Alexander Isak. Some of their, best players are not in the best of form. So attack them from the start. I'd start with Eze in the 10 position. I might be tempted to have a look at Martinelli again, because 2 goals in a week. I mean, he's really made a case for himself. And lovely finish, by the way, outside of the foot, little dink over the keeper. Absolutely unreal finish. So I think, yeah, attack them from the word go.
Okay, would you?
What, start Eze in? Yeah, look.
Start Eze next week, or you go with that same Marino? Especially when you think about their midfield, which has got like Tonali and Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes, lots of physicality. Do you go with the free, sort of more defensive players, or do you put Eze in there?
Look, I think we know Newcastle are going to come and they're going to congest the middle of the park. They're going to play with a back 4 and a midfield 5 that are going to be very, very, very compact. You could probably throw a blanket over them at times and catch all 5 of them. So you are going to need players in wide areas that can make things happen, but you're also going to need players in central areas that can get that midfield turned. I think Eze is one of the players that can do that, but I think he can also do that from out wide. And like I said, I think we've built a squad that gives you the options. You can play Eze on the left-hand side and know he's going to give you something. You can play him centrally, know he's going to give you something. Saka coming back in today again gives you other options. One thing I will say today, I thought the ref was poor. I thought the ref was poor. I thought he bottled not giving Trossard a yellow card. He should have given it. He should have given 2 yellows. But that's the issue. The issue is if he gives Trossard the yellow, he's got to give the other player a yellow as well. So, and then obviously the way he managed the Donnarumma situation was terrible. But it is what it is, and I'm confident going into next week. I just think, if we can get our ball players playing in the middle of the park, we win the game.
I wanted to ask you as well. What about you? Next week, does Eze start in that game? Because that like you said, a difficult midfield. Yeah. Would you start Eze?
Yeah, for me, in attack, if you look at the midfield, we can't keep playing 3 defensive midfielders. So bringing in Eze, if Odegaard is not going to be fit, would be a very good one going forward. And then, if I'm going to be tempted, I might want to start Martinelli because his form in the last 2 games has been very good. And it looks like he's really trying his best to keep his place. So I think he could go with a lineup with maybe Martinelli, Saka, if Saka is 100% on the game, or maybe Madueke, and then you bring in Saka, and then you can play Eze as a 10. That's what I feel. But because we've seen Barcelona do it over the week, and we saw that you don't need to be physical to be able to win a game against Newcastle. So I feel if we go there with more attacking threats with Eze, and then bringing in Martinelli, I think we could pose a threat to Newcastle.